Time to pull up a chair. We've got another great story for you today in the rLounge. Who knew that brunch could serve up more than just mimosas and pancakes? It turns out it's also the perfect setting for dishing out some much-needed reality checks. Today in the rLounge, this Karen is the gift that keeps on giving. Entitled sister burns bridge, then wants me to maintain her and her unborn baby. Using a throwaway account since she knows my personal Reddit, but oh boy, this is a long one. So I, 27 female, moved to the US almost 7 years ago. I have 2 half-sisters from my father's side, all from different women. We used to be very close, and despite both of them being illegitimate, I shared with them part of what little inheritance I got from my grandparents. They never recognized them and left them nothing. 2 years ago, my sisters also moved to the US. The middle sister, 28, let's call her Mary, got a company to host her with a work visa. The eldest, 30, Karen, not her real name, got a student visa and moved in with me since I was already working and earning a good salary. The arrangement was that I would pay bills, she would get a job at the university since she's not allowed to work outside, and that was her spending money. I would cover all the bills and food. The only thing I asked was to help with some minor chores. I have a dog and a cat, and I told her she had no responsibility while she had work and school. It was fine since I work from home, and I have a stepfamily that helped me maintaining my home, mostly because I'm the free babysitter for them. Pretty sweet deal for a student, right? Well, apparently that wasn't enough. While she was in school, Karen met Ken. I knew Ken from the time I went to university. He's a creep, but I thought harmless. Karen was head over heels for him. I warned her Ken had a bad reputation at the university, but she didn't care. She's a big girl, so I let it be, with the only condition that Ken was not allowed in my place. COVID hits, and my hours were cut. Karen's school goes on pause and she loses her campus job. Because of all this, we moved into a small apartment. I took a second job and did some freelance on the side. Needless to say, I had no personal life. I'm dating someone, but he was also swamped with work and bills, so we barely met each other. During this time, Karen and Ken apparently got closer and he began to appear in the apartment. Karen was not part of my lease, but my landlord was very understanding. Ken began making really inappropriate comments about me. I'm not a beauty queen. I just look a bit exotic, as Ken put it. I'm mixed race from the Caribbean, so I have a bit of everything, and somehow it all shows. Karen looks more like our father. He was of European descent. In all honesty, Karen is more attractive. I only look foreign in this little Intermountain region city. Ken would go out of his way to touch me and was just invasive. I managed to just keep in my room when he was around, or use the excuse that my pets needed to walk. I didn't know exactly why, but Karen kept pushing for me to spend time on my own with Ken. It would be good for you to bond with your future brother-in-law. They only had been dating for 7 months at this point. Whatever, I didn't care. I found excuses to avoid it. In November 2020, I got a better position at my main career job, so I was able to quit my second job and have more me time. I reconnected with friends and one of them asked me if I was okay. I asked why, and he told me Ken had been saying he was very close to getting me for personal time. I was not okay with that idea, and I very loudly said I'd rather be hit by a train than doing anything with Ken. Since I'm in a small city in the Intermountain region, the kind that most people in the same area know each other, a lot of people had text messages or creepy stories to tell me. That was it for me. I went home and demanded an explanation. They didn't deny it. Ken even said Karen had said it was fine and I was doing them a solid as her sister, since he had a fantasy he wanted to go for. I told them both they were disgusting and that Ken had to leave or I would be calling the cops. Ken left with some insults sent my way, and Karen began telling me she didn't see the problem since my partner and I were on a break. We were not. I told her I was not for her to sell around like property and that she had 2 weeks to find a place of her own. I was done with her. I called all my relatives, sent them copies of the text messages I was given, and no one in our family wanted anything to do with Karen. She moved in with Ken a few days later. It took me some effort, but I was able to get a restraining order for Ken. Couldn't get one for Karen. Still, they disappeared from my radar except for a few encounters which easily were solved with showing I was about to call 911. And then today happened, and I had to hold back my laughter. Mary had kept tabs on Karen, since sisters and all, and she messaged me with a notice. Hey, Karen just called me. She's pregnant, and Ken kicked her out. I just stared at it for a few minutes and responded, Oh, that's sad. Mary knew and supports that I don't care or have any intentions to help. Karen used Mary's phone to call me. She begged me to help, since Mary is only letting her stay for a week before she moves to another state. Said that she missed her little sister and had no one else to go to. That she knows I have family health insurance. I pay for private health insurance for 2 relatives that are in hard times and have health conditions, and that I could do something like that for her pregnancy medical bills. The baby is a blessing and I should want to help her raise it, meaning I pay for everything. I let her pour her heart out for a good 5 to 7 minutes and then said, "Nope." I ended the call. She tried calling again for a while, then stopped when I got a text message from Mary saying she had left her phone at the counter and was sorry for spamming. Most of my family agrees with me, even Karen's mom. The only one that disapproves is Karen's aunt. She's not my aunt, but I call her aunt anyway since I've known her for many years. She's been putting pressure on me most of the day. She only stopped when I told her one more message and I would show her text messages to my stepfather, who is her landlord. I feel bad for the baby, to a point, but this is one of those moments that all I can think is, this is not my circus, and these are not my monkeys. Edit 1. Someone mentioned the region inconsistency. I never looked into it, since I didn't really care, but when I lived, I heard Midwest and Northwest interchangeably. As far as I was concerned, it was the same thing. We don't have that type of regions in my country. So I decided to Google while at work and found out neither is right. I live in the Intermountain region. Thanks, random stranger, for making me check on the messy regional system. Not even Google agrees on it. Also, a small explanation on my grandparents. They were very old traditionalists. By the end of their lives, they didn't have much to give, so they chose to give it to the legal grandchildren. My sperm donor father had many children. I might not even know all of them. Grandparents were just tired of every other year having a new grandchild appear, and in some cases, a moocher mother attached. Last, Karen's visa. She had an extension since COVID, but that is over. She's overstaying her visa. This is very common. I have relatives that do it. I don't agree, but I also had one foot in since my stepfather is an American. Now let's get a couple quick comments from the community. First up, she got exactly what she deserved. That's effing around and finding out in the most complete way possible. The last person in the world who gives a dang about her, the aunt, needs to step up or shut her dang mouth. The OP replies, the aunt can't afford it. She's not in the US and lives pretty much rent-free in my mom's old house in her home country. Someone else chimes in, she still doesn't get to put her 2 cents in and pawn the responsibility on you. The classic tale of F around and find out meets its ultimate chapter. Karen has got herself in a right mess, and now she's ringing up every sympathy line she can find, hoping to score some free assistance. But let's be honest, she handed you a platter of betrayal and expected a side of charity in return. And Ken, what a prize! Clearly his idea of fantasy was less about fairy tales and more about disturbing delusions. Kudos to you for dodging that bullet and laying down the law like a pro. As for Karen's sob story, it's impressive how quickly she forgets who she trampled on her way to love. Now she's looking for a golden ticket out of the chaos she waltzed into. But hey, if she's got a future in dramatic performances, she might want to consider Hollywood next. They could always use more tragic characters. Update, 3 days later. I wasn't planning to make an update so quick, or at all, but here it is. Small summary, I have 2 half-sisters, Mary and Karen. Karen used to live with me rent-free and decided to offer me up her creepy boyfriend like a side dish. I kicked her out, and she went to live with him. She got pregnant, he threw her to the curb, and now she wants me to take care of her and her unborn baby. Now to today. Mary called me this morning to have brunch and discuss things related to Karen. She told me she understood I don't want to be part of the mix, but she really wanted it to be discussed, and after I can just walk out. I know Mary, and I know she's just trying to leave everything in order before she leaves the state. She's the peacekeeper of my siblings. I agreed on the condition that there was no way Karen would come home with me. Mary just said, if she tries to follow you, I'll drag her out myself. So I dressed up, and off I went to brunch with my sisters. I'll skip the pleasantries and dumb, friendly family look Karen attempted. Once we were done eating and just having coffee, Mary set all the cards on the table. She explained she couldn't take Karen with her out of state because she's getting married to her longtime girlfriend, and they can only afford a 1-bedroom in her new city. She also said Karen was insane if she thought Mary would allow her to live with me, even if she had the power to make me take Karen back in. That Karen was lucky she even let her stay with her for this last few days. She told her the only reason we were doing this was because her mother had begged her to at least put Karen somewhere safe or find a solution for the pregnancy. So she turned to me and asked me as the most stable economically if there was anything I would be willing to help with. I might be an a-hole for this. Feel free to roast me. But basically I said I would only give money for 3 things. 1. A termination and a hotel room while she heals from it. 2. A ticket back to home country so she can live with her mother or aunt and get free health care. 3. A ticket to her eldest brother's home country so she can live with him because I know he will take her. I also said she had the option to put the baby up for adoption, but I would not be offering her a place to stay or a way to get medical care out of my pocket. I gave her some links to nonprofits she could use. Karen starts crying, saying I was trying to take away her baby and being a bad sister. That a good sister would open up her home and help care for her baby. That I never deserved to have the money I have. Most of my money is from inheritance on my mother's side of the family, so not sure how she would have gotten anything. That I was spoiled by my mother because she had money. We did, because after our father left my mother and I with nothing, she made a company from scratch. She kept babbling and making a scene. Then she said something that actually hurt me. You are just mad because you will never get pregnant. Yes, I happen to be infertile. No, I can't get treatment for it. It is what it is. I already accepted it, but it still hurts. Mary knew this was a low blow for me and basically told Karen one more stupid word like that and she'll be sleeping in the street tonight. I didn't cry or anything, just stared. Karen stopped her crying, muttering, and seemed to get an idea. She looked at me straight and told me to adopt her baby. I laughed at that. I told her she was insane if she thought I would adopt her baby. I don't want her in my life, let alone her ex. I don't blame the baby, but I have absolutely no intentions to be part of the child's life. I was about to go off on Karen for just even thinking I would consider this as an option, but Mary stopped me on time. She simply said to Karen, "You have the options she gave you. Here are mine. You can get a termination or you can go back to home country. Either way, you can't stay here. You are not legal and your immigration status affects us if you were to live with us. I could lose my job and OP could lose her resident status. You have until next Friday to choose. If none of these options work, you will have to find your own solution without us. I don't want you anywhere near my little sister. You put her at risk of being assaulted or worse. You are lucky I have an empty room for 1 more week for you to crash in, but after, I don't want to see you in person. We can keep in touch by Facebook or phone. You've lost the right to spend time in person with either of us." I just stared at Mary. She's very quiet and normally the most reserved of us, so this was not expected. Mary paid, didn't even wait for the change, and left Karen with enough to get a taxi home. Mary grabbed me by the arm and took me out. I didn't know how much I needed someone to just protect me for a change, but I did cry a little on the way out from just pure relief. I had one older sister that still looked out for me. We decided to go for ice cream after, like we did as kids when bad things happened, and discussed our plans to spend holidays and vacations together. Mary's girlfriend also joined us for ice cream, and the whole time she just made jokes about how sad she's going to be without her moving table. She's much taller than me, and it's a running gag with us. Nothing too dramatic, thankfully. Mary and her girlfriend are going to come later for dinner with me. Depending on how this mess ends, I'll try to update, but at this point, I think it's pretty much done. Not sure if Karen will take any of the options we gave her or just do her own thing. Regardless, I have no intentions of putting my money for anything but what I said I would. And yes, Mary is my hero if anyone is curious. Small edit 1. I got asked this in a chat and wanted to clear it up. Karen is not penniless. I gave her $10,000 at the start of the year when our grandmother passed away. That was her part of the $30,000 I was given. She's also been saving the money from her college job. I worked at the university about 4 years ago and I was getting $9 an hour. Her mom also sends her money. Unless she wasted all her funds, she won't go home without money. If that was the case, my brothers, Mary, and I would all give her something. She might be in my blacklist, but she is my sister at the end of the day. A couple comments from the community again. Firstly, is your home fitted out with cameras or some kind of security system? Because if Karen knows or finds your address, then she's going to try something. Secondly, I suggest you have a word with your local police station and let them know at least a little bit of the details. You have a relation who may try to gain access to your home and that they do not have permission to be there, just in case Karen attempts to gain access while you're out or working, etc. The OP replies, I have a camera system and a guard dog, but also all my locks are changed. Short of her climbing through the balcony like Spider-Man, she'll have trouble getting in. I also work from home and hire a dog walker, so I should be okay. Someone else says, 100% want to find out what Karen does. Also, Mary's a fantastic big sister, and thank goodness she is asserting boundaries too. Well, brunch sure served up more than just coffee and eggs, didn't it? Who knew a casual family get-together could turn into a full-blown intervention, complete with life-altering decisions? So, Karen, your delightful half-sister who previously tried to auction you off to her creepy boyfriend, is now knocked up and in desperate need of a savior. Naturally, she thinks you're going to swoop in like some kind of benevolent fairy godmother. Newsflash for Karen, Cinderella's out of glass slippers. Karen's next move? Who knows? But whatever it is, it's not your problem anymore. You've done more than enough, and props to you for keeping your boundaries firm and not letting guilt trip you into a lifetime of Karen-induced chaos. Karen has made her choice. Final update, 6 days later. Well, as the title says, my older half-sister Karen has made her choice. The short version of events leading to this is Karen was living rent-free with me when she started dating a creepy guy. Her boyfriend wants to follow through a fantasy that involved my sister and I in a very disgusting activity together, and Karen was all up for it, and volunteered me without my knowledge. I kicked her out. She moved with him and got pregnant, and he kicked her out. She wanted me to not only take her in, but also basically maintain her and her baby. My sister and I gave her the options and told her she would not live with either of us long term. As I mentioned in my last post, my sister Mary and I gave Karen a couple of options for her unplanned pregnancy. The options were a termination on her pregnancy, a ticket back to her home country, or to her brother's home country, or she could figure a way to keep her child or put the baby up for adoption. She had until tomorrow to choose, since Mary leaves on Saturday for the East Coast. Well, Karen chose none of the above. She decided to make life so difficult, she is now arrested and more than likely will be deported. Let me explain what happened. Tuesday, Mary decided to leave for a nearby national park to enjoy it one last time before she moves too far to drive there. She left Karen with a key and some money. Big mistake. Mary and her girlfriend returned yesterday and found out all the locks in their house had been changed. To make it even worse, Ken, Karen's supposed ex, had moved into their house. I know, Mary should have seen this coming, but they grew up as best friends. They used to be closer to each other than to anyone else, myself included. Obviously, police were called, and it was just a major mess. Karen and Ken claimed it was their house. Mary and her girlfriend kept telling them, no, it's not. It's not even Mary's house anymore. It was sold, and a new family that owns it arrives on Sunday. Realtor was going to give them the key. The police officers were so done with this mess before it even escalated and asked everyone for their IDs. Ken, Mary, and Mary's girlfriend all had their IDs. Karen only had an expired passport. Karen got arrested on immigration charges. Ken got arrested on charges relating to breaking and entering, and some other I don't know for sure. I got this secondhand from Mary while she was basically about to commit a murder felony, and it not being for the officers present. Today I got called about my sister. Her lawyer said she's claiming to be my surrogate and that the baby in her was actually my child. Yep, she tried this. I told the lawyer that I was not looking for a surrogate or adopting a child. I'm also fostering and I have no space, and that my sister got pregnant by accident with Ken. He asked if I would be willing to foster her baby, since the child would technically be American. I said absolutely not. He tried to work things with me, explaining my sister will most likely be deported otherwise. I just told him if that's the law, then that's how it will be. I asked him to please not contact me about her anymore. As far as I'm concerned, the only family she has is in our home country. Aside from the scare and new locks, Mary is okay. The realtor has copies of the new keys for the family that owns the house, and now my sister and I are planning to have no contact with Karen. I don't know what exactly will happen to Karen, nor do I care anymore. Now, not even aunt and home country wants anything to do with Karen, and even apologized to Mary and I. As for Ken, well, who knows? I hope he goes to jail, but if he doesn't, I couldn't care less. I now feel like a massive boulder is off my shoulders and can just focus on work and teaching my foster daughter about Star Wars. We have already watched all of the original trilogy, and we have a Clone Wars marathon planned for the weekend. I want to thank everyone who sent me well wishes to my sister and Mary and I. Also to the people that share advice that I am so glad I took to heart. This has been probably the worst roller coaster family mess I've dealt with since my parents' divorce, and it came absolutely from the one person I suspected less. Can't say I have any entitled stories aside from this. Karen was once actually a very good sister, but I guess when money and comfort are involved, people change. Small update that isn't worth a new post. Karen was offered to leave the U.S. willingly, and she will face no negative effects for her status. She called my mom to see if she could convince me to give my sister the money for the ticket. Mary and I agreed to pay the ticket on the condition she never again contacts either of us. Her mom is aware of this and basically told me that Karen will have to find a job within the month she arrives, or she'll be in the streets. As for lawyers and stuff, I have my own immigration lawyer aware of the mess, and he told me the only way the surrogate ploy would work would be a DNA match or a contract. None of that is around, so I'm safe. Mary booked Karen for her trip back on Friday, and good riddance. After these updates, I'm sure the community has some thoughts. First up, what a ride. I'm glad Mary is okay. Sorry you had to go through this mess, but well done for staying strong. Wish you the best and hope you have a great time watching the rest of Star Wars. Someone else says, agreed, glad you're okay, OP. One suggestion, however, keep tabs on Ken, not because you care about him or need the drama in your life. You really don't. That said, knowing if he's in jail or not, and general idea of what his headspace might be from a mutual friend or acquaintance maybe, because that is one messed up dude mentally. I worry about your safety if he isn't in jail. I mean, 99% more than likely, he won't go near you because of a restraining order. But if he goes it was all OP's fault I'm in this mess, as his life hopefully falls apart from this mess, you never know for certain. I don't wish you to freak out or anything, just a suggestion to be super extra cautious is all. Usually, once someone is in jail, they tend to behave to avoid going back in. I imagine that order will be more than enough, but always better safe than sorry. Regardless, you handled the situation amazingly well and properly, and major props. I hope you enjoy passing on your nerdisms and enjoy life to the fullest. Sincerely, best of luck in the future. Claiming you're expecting her baby? Classic Karen move. Thank goodness your lawyer shut that down faster than you can say Maury Povich. And your response to the lawyer's plea for foster care? A resounding absolutely not. Bravo. Like, who needs that kind of drama, right? Let's stick to fostering your foster daughter's love for Star Wars. The Force is definitely stronger than Karen's delusions. As for Karen's exit strategy, I hope the airport security has her on their radar. She might try smuggling drama in her carry-on, so stay vigilant. Update. 19 days later. I almost made it to a month without hearing from my half-sister. But okay, Reddit, you were right. This might never be over. Also, funny enough, dear sis found my post and sent me a scathing email before I blocked her. But that's not really a big story. This one, however, pisses me off. So, as I posted before, my older half-sister Karen was forcefully, but not really, removed by immigration after going insane and trying to get squatters' rights on a sold house that used to belong to my other half-sister Mary, and she was escorted out, so I knew she left. Things were calm for a bit, and in the meantime, I focused on my 4-year-old foster daughter. Let's call her Lily. Lily's mom is one of my oldest friends. She gave birth in the U.S., but then Lily's father is not American, and unfortunately passed away when Lily was a baby. My friend was asked to leave the U.S. to do her immigration process off-country, since she has no one to claim her aside from a minor child. This sadly means she probably won't be able to come into the U.S. until Lily is 18. Because of our home country's education system being really bad, she asked me if I could take Lily. By this point, I had already kicked Karen out, so I had an extra room. I told her it was okay if it was on Lily's best interests. Lily and I are tight as thieves, and she's always seen me as her crazy fun aunt. It took a bit, but 3 weeks ago, Lily's guardianship was passed from the state to me, and just in time for Halloween, too. We were skipping trick-or-treating this year due to the pandemic, but Lily still wanted to dress up as a Sith. I am so proud of this child, I swear. My mom was incredibly happy for having a foster grandkid, especially since Lily actually doesn't have any other grandparents, so she sent her some fairly fancy Star Wars props. Obviously, we got her dressed up in her Sith outfit and had a mini photo session for Grandma, and my mom posted the pictures on Facebook, so Lily's mom could see them easily. My family and friends went crazy with how adorable Lily looks. She says she's not adorable, she's Sith, and then Karen strikes back. Mom forgot or decided not to block Karen, and when my half-sister saw Lily's picture, she had some of her best hits, such as, my 4-year-old looks fat. She's ugly and clearly going to grow up to be a slut. She looks like a word I can't even say in writing, but it's the word starting with N. That's just a handful. She got called out and told kindly to return to her darkness. But then she started to call my mother, at every hour, to ask for money, to ask how to contact me, to tell her she was wasting money on a kid that was not really her grandchild and should give her the money for her kid. Karen is not my mom's daughter. Well, eventually my mom figured out how to block her, and Karen got to me through a school friend. She sent, not one, not two, a 16 pages long list of demands, or she will sue me. One was getting rid of my foster daughter so I could adopt her baby. Another was an apartment I share with my cousins left to us by our maternal grandmother. $500,000. My dog and my cat. Oh, and I need to get her back into the U.S. There's still more, most of it completely delusional. I sent a copy to my lawyer to try to pursue a no-contact order in the U.S. Can't do anything in my home country, but I did forward another copy to our relatives, including our eldest brother. He just said to me he'll take care. For the record, I'm not taking Karen's kid in, even if I didn't have Lily. Her ex was recently released and has already caused problems for other people. Luckily, he's keeping away from me. And to clear something up, Karen isn't penniless. I divided with her and Mary a $150,000 inheritance into equal parts. She also got money from her stepfather when he passed. In our home country, she's actually well off. The only reason I never charged rent or asked her for money was because I knew the tuition price was going to be very high and didn't want her to have to take a loan like I did for a time. We got a couple things from the comments. Karen lives up to her name. Nasty, entitled, crazy, bitter, and of course, racist. An awful woman and an awful person, through and through. I don't know her in person, but I just wish everything keeps going worse for her. I still don't understand what this creature expects from you, since she's not even in the United States anymore. But I guess entitled little brains work differently. Abnormally, to be more precise. The OP replies, I still have assets in our home country. The apartment, some land my maternal grandpa left me that I share with my cousins since he died before they were born, a bank account, and I'm partners in my uncle's company. She seems to think my maternal family's property is also property of my father's children, except it isn't. Most of it is premarital stuff, or from after the divorce. Part 2. Oh boy, I wish this was a weird joke, but no, this happened. I have to warn ahead, this is not a pretty story. As the saga of my family goes on, I'm happy to report I have moved to a safer town away from my half-sister's ex. I won't give details where, but far enough and with some changes in my personal life that will make it very hard for that creep to find me or my daughter. On that note, due to the situation we were in, we got lucky enough to get a priority on my foster daughter's adoption. She's now my partner and I's legal child. That's the good news. The bad news are coming from my sister. So I received an email a bit after New Year's from a relative in my birth country. He told me my sister was in urgent care since she had introduced herself to give birth to get money for having a baby with special needs. I can't make this up. Unfortunately, it backfired horribly. I don't know all the details, but the methods she used were very aggressive and damaging. So much so, the baby might not make it. As of right now, the baby boy is alive, but so delicate my relatives were told the chance of him making it to the end of January are close to none. I understand some of the things she did was hit her own belly and other violent attacks on herself. She, by some grace only entitled people have, is somewhat okay. Apparently the sudden birth didn't do much to her overall health so far. That said, as soon as she's released from the hospital, she is to be arrested and will stand trial. With how justice is back home, she's bound for prison. Highly religious people don't take this kind of behavior too kindly. The baby, if he survives, will be taken in by the government. They consider my sister far too much of a risk to even grant custody to relatives. Not even distant or partial relatives in other countries are being considered. That's also not counting on the possible lifelong treatments that poor little one is going to need. From what I was told, he has high chances of neurological damage. More than likely will need special care for life, and right now is so weak they have a tube to feed him since he can't actually drink, not even from a bottle. I want to make something clear, and if I sound curt, it's because I'm very much pissed off. I offered her a termination not because I believe in that procedure, but because I didn't want the child to be born to suffer. No child deserves what happened to this baby. Needless to say, my ex-sister has lost not just her parental rights, but any support or affection the family had. I actually sent a letter to her mother to be delivered to this woman telling her, pretty much as far as I'm concerned, she has no family, and if she ever messages me, I will block her. Even siblings I don't get along with agree with me. I feel ashamed that filth is even partially related to me. I wish I could put all my thoughts to here, but the anger I feel is absolutely making me irrational right now, so for now, all I will focus on is settling in my new home. I wish I had a happy joke to ease things, but there isn't. That woman has ruined so many lives I can't even imagine where she got it from. Not even our garbage father was this bad. Small edit. I wanted to post this before bed, but it took me a bit to figure out the wording. I really appreciate the well wishes and hopes for the recovery of the child. I do too. The thing is, I don't see him as my nephew and would rather not get it mixed up. It's not to be callous or mean. I'm just trying to avoid getting emotionally attached. We've already been told our family, extended included, will be no contact if he pulls through. He will be taken to the comparative to foster care and place with a family in a closed adoption. We aren't even allowed to see him. All news we get are hospital updates out of charity. I did call to check if there's any updates, and other than my sister has been finally released from the hospital and straight into a cell, nothing has changed. Little one is still fighting, so hopefully he'll get through and he'll be given to a family that deserves him. Right now, that monster I'm related to is looking at 10 to 20 years penalty. 20 is the max offered in our birth country. And she'll have to represent herself, as no one will pay for a lawyer, and we don't have access to free lawyers like the US. And I want to point out, prisons where I came from are no resort. They are overcrowded, unhealthy, and underfunded. It was worse when I was a kid, but I know for a fact they are not much better. So I'm more than sure that if she's convicted, she's looking to at least a decade on horrible conditions. And I feel absolutely no empathy for her. Second update. Just wanted to post that unfortunately the little one didn't make it. He passed away early today. His grandmother was given permission to take care of the funeral, and my siblings and I will be sending her money. We are low-key discussing bringing her to live in the US to live with my mom and her husband, as she is close to my mom and won't have to be alone being judged for what her daughter did. I don't think I can really update more for a while, at least until I know what will happen to that woman who now is absolutely bound for jail. One quick community comment. She is, by far, one of the worst humans I've ever had the displeasure of hearing about. Your ex-sister is a monster. I hope she spends many long, miserable, painful years in prison. It still won't make up for all the lives she's ruined, but hopefully it will prevent her from ruining any more. You did everything you could to prevent this, including offering to pay for termination and save that poor, innocent baby from a life of pain. Just focus right now on your family. Hold your partner and your daughter close, and thank whatever deity you believe in that you are nothing like that abomination. Well, OP, it seems like Karen just can't resist a dramatic exit, huh? From squatters' rights to making absurd demands via a 16-page manifesto, she's really gunning for the Worst Family Member of the Decade award. First off, kudos to Lily for choosing Sith over the usual princess gig. Future Sith Lord in the making, no doubt. Your mom posting those adorable Sith pics and Karen's response? Classic. I mean, who knew Karen had such a refined taste in insults? Calling a 4-year-old fat, and worse, it's like she's auditioning for a villain role in a Disney movie. But not the cool, Maleficent kind. And those demands? An apartment? $500,000, your pets, and throw in the kitchen sink while she's at it. Plus, she wants you to magically conjure her back into the US. That's some next level entitlement right there. At least you had the right foresight to forward that lunacy to your lawyer. Might as well get it framed as Exhibit A in the Hall of Family Lunacy. And now she's looking at a cozy decade or two in a not-so-luxurious prison. Karma's a real Sith, huh? Here's hoping she finds some creative outlet for her time behind bars. Maybe she'll start a prison knitting club or lead yoga sessions for her fellow inmates. My entitled sister got away with literal murder 4 months later. So, been a while since I posted. I've been busy with a lot of changes, and to be sincere, my horrid sister was last in my mind. This isn't a great update, but to shorten a lengthy story, my sister was arrested for causing injuries to her unborn baby. He was born premature and with severe physical damage. She was fine. Ultimately, the baby boy didn't make it and died a bit after being born. A few days ago, my uncle called to let me know my sister somehow managed to get all the charges dropped except for a minor charge related to making a fake police report. She accused her mother of stealing her car. My sister has no car. Not the best news, all things considered, but right now she has no money left, save a few $100s she was given by a mutual friend, and no one in her mixed family wants to help her. She even tried contacting my parents, who share a deceased father, not our mother's, to get my new number. Luckily, they refused. That's really only my consolation right now, is like almost my whole life, she has the power to cause immense damage and still get out of it. Regardless, not all news is bad. I did hear because of her U.S. criminal record, she will not be allowed to apply for a visa for 10 years. So she's stuck in Latin America with no home, actual money, or a job. She's never held a job since we were kids, and she's in her 30s. Wish I had a more satisfactory report on this, but sadly there's no jail sentence. Small edit. Also to clear something, my sister wasn't trying to terminate a pregnancy. She was trying to cause development damage to give birth to a special needs child. She would have had access to a monthly check for the rest of the child's life to cover their care and needs, which I doubt she would use for that. One quick comment. There's a special place in hell for people like that. I hope you live an amazing life away from her and her selfishness. I think the comment said what everyone was thinking. There most definitely is a special hot place for people like that. My insane half-sister creates fake social media under my name 2 months later. Oh boy, here we go again. Small footnote because the PMs are driving me nuts. My sisters are not really called Karen and Mary. I use fake names for everyone, including my daughter and my stalker, to respect privacy. So Lily is a fake name as well as Ken. No, I really don't plan to share anyone's real name. To the actual story, I got called into a video conference today because I had broken the company's social behavior policies. The rundown on those is basically that we're not allowed to post inappropriate social media, and we are to behave in a way that represents the company respectfully and properly. I am corporate, so very strict for me. Some of these policies are straight firing if broken. Obviously, I was terrified, up until my boss described the situation. Apparently someone created an OnlyFans under my name. No, not giving it out. Don't even ask, please. It was very, saying inappropriate isn't enough. Straight up really bad porn based on the thumbnails, which I hope a round of heavy alcohol will help me forever forget. First of all, I don't have nearly enough confidence for OnlyFans. I don't even have the courage to go into the website. Not my thing. Second, I just had to laugh when HR pulled the page with my name on it and a picture of Karen. I just stared at them and asked if they saw the issue. They tried to paint it as, well, it still reflects poorly on the company. I'll cut the amount of BS that went back and forth until the boss basically said this was stupid and to just let it be since it's obvious the person in the OnlyFans is not me. The only thing Karen and I have in common is our nose and eye color. I am ignoring the whole thing, though I low-key sent it to our eldest brother, who already told me he's going to take care of it. Knowing him, Karen might end up in a convent or somewhere with no internet. There's a lot of towns in our home country like that. Pretty sure this was an attempt to get me fired or maybe have my partner leave me. Could even be a prelude to reporting me to CPS to get my daughter taken from me. I already have them informed of the situation, and our caseworker actually laughed at the sheer stupidity. So yeah, seems this is going to be my new normal until Karen finds a new target. In any case, I just wanted to say thanks to the people that offered support to myself and my little Sith. Lily is doing great in her new school and has already found an apprentice best friend for all Star Wars related shenanigans. She also discovered a new fascination in Avatar, so now she wants to learn martial arts. Mary and her wife are doing well too. They are actually considering adoption too in the not necessarily near future. Right now they enjoy spoiling Lily rotten. Now let's take a break and check in with the community. I really hoped she'd stop, since the unfortunate situation with the baby she wanted you to take on paper ended the way it did. It's good that you are keeping tabs, and hopefully copies, for legal purposes if it comes to that. Karen needs a little mental health help based on how crazy she is acting. Coming up with this poorly done revenge porn thing? It's a little creepy with how obsessed she's getting with you too. It's like she doesn't want to be herself anymore. She wants to be you, and this is just the first step into madness. I'm glad to hear all the sane relatives are doing well, that Lily is doing fabulous, and that your boss told HR that trying to fire you when it's... I'm not sure if it falls under identity theft, but with how it could affect your job, that's the best label I have for it. I hope brother does something that makes her stop soon, because you deserve to just enjoy your life with your little Sith bud in peace. The OP replies, in all honesty, so long she stays far away, she can go insane and dig her own grave for all I care. I know that makes me sound heartless, but I'm just done emotionally with her. I see her the same way I see our father, a simple, unfortunate DNA partial match. Well, Karen's creativity in ruining your life has reached new heights, or should I say depths. Creating an OnlyFans in your name? That's like the worst identity theft ever, with an X-rated twist. It's a shame Karen didn't put that imagination towards something useful, like inventing a cure for her own brand of insanity. Props to HR for their concern about company image, but seriously, mistaking Karen for you? That's like confusing a dumpster fire for a birthday candle. At least they saw through the absurdity eventually, after what I'm sure was a riveting debate about the merits of nose comparisons. Anyway, glad to hear Lily's thriving in her Sith training and now branching out into Avatar. Next thing you know, she'll be demanding a flying bison for Christmas. Mary and her wife sound like the sane corner of this story. Bless them for spoiling Lily rotten in all the best ways. Here's hoping Karen finds a hobby that doesn't involve impersonating you or causing international incidents. Until then, keep documenting this nonsense for the inevitable Lifetime movie adaptation. I hear they're looking for a lead role that combines drama, comedy, and a touch of criminal mischief. Stay strong, OP. May the Force be with you and your little Sith apprentice through this absurdity. My entitled half-sister update, 1 year later, 2 months later. Since apparently it's been 1 year since this mess started and I have a few PMs asking for it, I figure I should at least update on things. The good news is my family, partner, and daughter are okay. We're settled in our new home and working through things. As for dear Karen, my horrid half-sister, and this is a fake name for her, well, I actually saw her. Not on purpose, mind you. About a month passed. I went to my home country to tie up some loose ends, close bank accounts, and preparing a property for sale. I took my adoptive daughter so she could see her birth family and left her with them for the week we were staying. While I was in the hotel, since as much as I love my relatives, I really feel uncomfortable staying in someone else's house, I got called to the lobby. Apparently someone claiming to be my relative was there. I told them I wasn't expecting any visits, but they insisted I came down because apparently the person refused to leave otherwise. Thinking it could be an emergency, I do have relatives that don't have cell phones, I decided to go see what was going on. Who happened to be but dear old Karen. She looked fine, nothing out of this world, so I figured she probably just got a job of some sorts and was doing okay. The moment she saw me, she tried to get close to me for a hug, but I took a step back and asked her to leave. Immediately she began screaming that I had to give her money, that her life was all a mess and her baby was dead because I refused to take them in. The hotel staff tried getting her out and even threatened me with canceling my reservation, but I reminded them they called me and I wanted nothing to do with this person. Karen began saying she would stalk me outside the hotel until I either gave her $10,000 or a property I had begun to prepare for sale. I asked for the police and to please not let her anywhere near my room. Eventually, they got her to leave the lobby, but she did stay near the entrance. Even after multiple police calls, the best they did was let her be on the opposite end of the street. So after discussing the situation with the manager, they kindly set me in a different hotel from the same branch in another area. Personally, this worked for me, since I love that area and I could really just relax for the remaining days. My daughter actually joined me the last 2 days with her birth mom, and we had a moms and daughter day. From what my relatives told me, Karen is working in a club as a hostess. Not that kind of club, just a normal tourist trap. She's doing fine enough to rent a place, but no real luxuries or the lifestyle she was used to when all she had to do was call me and I would buy her whatever she wanted out of guilt for having money. Last I heard, my half-sister has been going around claiming the old property I'm selling is hers and tried to find the paperwork for it in my relative's house. I'm not so dumb to leave it there, though. In case she reads this, I won't say where they are, but they are completely out of her reach. Let's go back to the community to catch up on the thoughts. Man, Karen needs to leave you alone already, but I'm glad your daughter didn't have to deal with her. Though you'd think she wouldn't have found you, so I wonder who talked. If there's some legal process to disinherit her in your home country, I'd file it because, if she somehow outlives you, she's going to be all, "It's all mine." I hope the sales go through smoothly. Warn your realtor or whoever is handling the sale about Karen and provide a photo for them if they don't have one already. They should know who to ask the neighbors to look out for around the property. I wouldn't be surprised if she tries to vandalize your property to drive buyers away or something. Good luck, OP. The OP replies, "Unfortunately for her, since we're half-sisters, if I die before her, my assets will either go to my adoptive daughter, my partner, or my nephews on my mother's side. Karen was never recognized by our father, so the relationship was only because our mother was trying to make sure we had a friendship of sorts. As for who talked, could have been a relative or someone from the old neighborhood. That's just how it goes, really. I know a lot of old friends found out and wanted to catch up since I grew up in a tight community." Karen, the gift that keeps on giving. Creating scenes at hotels now, is she? I guess Hotel California is her theme song. She can check out any time she likes, but she can never leave without causing a scene. I can just picture Karen demanding money like she's a failed contestant on a game show, shouting, "Give me $10,000 or the property gets it." Working as a hostess is in a tourist trap, huh? Well, at least she's found a job that suits her talents. Herding tourists like they're lost sheep while making sure she's the center of attention. No real luxuries, though. Poor Karen, living the hard-knock life after losing her gravy train. Maybe she'll learn the value of hard work and stop trying to mooch off everyone. My entitled sister passed away and made sure to leave the bill to me 1 year later. Oh boy, where to start? To be frank, I haven't really been paying too much attention to Reddit, so my apologies to a lot of replies I've missed. I actually have been postponing this for a bit, out of respect. As you all know, my eldest sister was the bane of my existence for the last few years, and I have to admit a small part of me always toyed with the idea, if she was just gone, my life would be easier. Well, ask and you will be given, want it or not. With her passing, I don't feel uncomfortable sharing her first name. Karen, as I called her in stories, was actually named Letitia. Letty was a mess to say the least, but I do have a lot of fond memories when we were kids. I'm going to try to keep things on the right side of petty, since even with her passing, I still have a lot of salt. In May 2023, Mary and I decided to check on things. Find out if she was okay, if there was any mess we should clean, or any of the many things we could think she would be up to. We ended up finding out she had passed away in April. It is related to damage she caused to her body during her pregnancy. I won't share the details, so I ask anyone with morbid curiosity to not ask, even in private messages. Obviously, we went straight to our home country to check the situation and make sure she had been given a proper burial. She was still in a morgue, so we paid the fees needed and prepared a funeral. A lot of family refused to come, including Letty's mother, so we didn't do anything big. A simple online service for anyone they wanted to attend anonymously and quick burial. After that was done, we set out to get her affairs in order. That's when we found she left over $25,000 of bills for Mary and I to pay. Unlike the US, where we come from, debts were passed to the closest relatives regardless of the debtor's death. In this case, it would be Letty's mother, but we decided to take it over. That's not counting her funeral costs, the fines with the morgue, and other miscellaneous. The peak of pettiness came when we were taking out her stuff from the place that she rented. We found a lot of missing items, from toys from our childhood to jewelry, even my graduation dress. She was selling all of them online. A lot of these items were in storage, so she had somehow made a copy of the storage key. I don't celebrate her death, nor do I feel sad, to be honest. I just feel exhausted. I always wanted to be close with my siblings. Unfortunately, I'm realizing for her, I was just an easy mark. I felt guilty I had a lot growing up, while my sisters were excluded because they were born out of wedlock. It wasn't their fault, and I'm also realizing it wasn't my fault. Over the last few years, I really appreciate how some people made me laugh here, and I absolutely had a blast sharing how entitled my family is. This isn't really how I wanted my sister's story to end for all she was. I'd rather she was still causing issues. At the same time, there's a little bit of peace knowing I can visit my family and community without feeling like a target. I know the mourning and sadness will eventually come. She was my sister after all. So I'm writing this before grief makes me less bitter. And a couple comments to wrap things up from the community. So sorry for your loss, and I have a brother with a similar life. I love him, but can't have him in my life, and I know that someday I will get a call that he died, and I will have to clean up whatever mess he leaves behind. It sucks. One other person chimes in, I had a brother like this too. One day the call did come. I thought the police were just calling to let me know he was in custody, but they were there because he was gone. I wish I could accurately describe the feelings. A big part of them was relief, because I knew that he'd had a hard road. His life was hard, but the guilt I felt for not being able to do more to help him was nearly unbearable as I thought about him in his afterlife. Was he in heaven or hell? I would be afraid sometimes to walk down the hallway to my bedroom because I might see him haunting me and pop out of the bathroom. I realize this is ridiculous, but the mind plays tricks on you sometimes. My brother was a heroin addict. He stole from my parents, from me. He sent me awful pictures of him with a needle in his arm. I spent more time chasing him around and trying to stop him from hurting himself and everyone else. Still, when he died, I wondered how alone he felt, or was he feeling guilt? Because in my heart, I really hope not. I know he was sick. His mind was sick. He was a human being who was terribly broken. In this life, even knowing the outcome, I know I made the right decision to keep my family safe from him and to distance myself. I just wish it could have been different. Letitia certainly left you with one final parting gift from beyond the grave, huh? It's like she staged her own twisted version of You've Been Framed, but instead of funny home videos, it's a bill collector's nightmare. Finding out she passed away must have been a roller coaster of emotions. Relief, exhaustion, and probably a hint of I told you so echoing in the back of your mind. You went from childhood nostalgia to adult chaos cleanup real quick, all thanks to her entrepreneurial spirit of selling off your memories like a yard sale on eBay. And leaving you with debts? Classic Letitia move. Classic. She's probably up there somewhere chuckling at the thought of you and Mary sorting through her financial mess while she sips on a cosmic cocktail. It's like she couldn't resist one last jab, ensuring you're financially haunted by her legacy. Thanks for following along. It was a doozy. What do you make of all of it? Let us know in the comments below. And thank you for joining us today in the rLounge. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you soon. And put that chair back where you found it.